Sorry, I'll have to stand up and lean on something. Yes, I was born in the... No, I wasn't born there. I was born in London, but I lived in the house next door to the post office. And our bit of road, well, we went from the corner of the avenue up to the warehouse, which had a lovely little wall in front of it, and it went up and down like that. And we used to walk along it. We were allowed to walk along it, but I never did what the big boys could do, was run along. And, you know, they could do it ever so quickly, but we never managed to. But the man there was a Mr. Crawley, and when we were playing on his wall, he used to come out, and I've got a feeling that he's only got one arm, but I don't know whether that's right or not. But he always had some apples in his pocket, and he would give us all an apple if we were playing there, which was rather nice. And then next to that was Julian Johnson's, that was the grocery shop. Now, the manager there was Mr. Chappell, and he got a son called Paul, who went to school with us. So we used to go round the back and play there. And we used to watch a Mr. Harris, who lived in Station Road, actually, and used to come on his bike to the shop. And he used to have to me, an enormous side of bacon. I'm sure it was that high, but I'm not, you know, that's the childhood thing. And he used to cut it up, and as he was cutting it into big pieces, and he would tell us, that's going to be the back bacon, and this is going to be the collar. I don't know what collar was, because it's not around now, but some people might remember collar bacon. And then there was the streaky and the gammons and things like that. And that went into the shop in a big lump, and then that's what I imagine anyway. And then it was cut into slices on the machine that they turned a hand on, the big blade went round. But we weren't allowed in there, but we did see Mr. Harris, and there was a Mr. Tucker. He used to do the orders. I mean, all this business of Tesco doing deliveries for all your groceries. You put the order in the morning, and when you got home from work, it was there in the afternoon, on the back doorstep or in the coal hole or somewhere where it's supposed to have left it. So it was a lot easier then to get an order than it is at Tesco's now. And there was always the right stuff in it, what you had ordered. But that was when I was a child, and that's how I was told about it. Then after the Julian Johnson's was this lovely shop, Mr. and Mrs. Sharp had it, and it was magic because there were toys in there, and there were bicycles, and there were saucepans, and there were cups and saucers. You could buy everything in that shop, and they were lovely people. And they got petrol pumps outside. I think there were 3, and the cars used to stop in the road, and then this big tube came out with Mr. Sharp, and he would fill the car up. And if we were around, he would let it drop down, and we could jump over it. And so they just jumped a couple of times, and that finished that. So it was then next to him, and kind of back, was the garage, which is still there. Mr. Sharp ran the garage, and there was a gentleman there, and I think his name was Mr. Abbott. And he, if your chain came off your bike or something like that happened, he would always put it back on for you. If your dad, you know, dads were at work, and Mr. Abbott would always do those kind of things. Next to there was a bungalow. There's now a little cafe in the bungalow at the other end, which was an extension, actually. I think there might still be a barber's, I'm not sure. But there lived a Miss Buzzens, who was headmistress at Greenhill School. And she used to ride every day on one of those old sit-up-and-beg bikes with a hand with a basket on the front. And her brother and sister-in-law came to live there. I don't remember whether they were, to me they were always there, but they perhaps weren't. But he was a lovely, well, they were both a lovely couple. And he said, and you've got to remember that this was in the late 40s, and it was a different, children were welcomed, I think. And he said to us, if you come in the garden, if you've got nothing to do, school holidays, I'll read you some stories. So we all trooped in, and he did. He sat in his bed chair, and we sat on the grass, and he told stories to us, read stories. And actually, I think he was educating us without us realising it. But they were such a lovely couple. And my younger brother, when we'd all gone to school, and he wasn't old enough to go to school, he was known to go round there and knock on the door and say, can Mr. Buzzins come and play? You know, and it was such a lovely, lovely place to live. Then next to them there was a house, and it's still there, it's Costa Coffee now. Mr. and Mrs. Goddard lived there, and their daughter Shirley, and he was a painter and decorator. And my dad called him Spot. And, oh, sorry. And he...
Yeah, that's good.
Yes, Mr. Goddard was called Spot, and apparently, because when he played football for Flitwick, he always took the penalties, and so that was his name. But sadly, he couldn't go out of the gate. And so he just leaned like this. He would lean on the gate and talk to anybody that went past, and we used to chat to him. Then the post office. That was lovely. There was a lady there who worked she did the postal sign, and her name was, well, everybody called her Titch, but she was a lovely lady, ever so nice. And Mr. Young was the owner of it, and we always found that he was nice. And some people thought he was a bit surly, but actually he was a very shy man. Now on a Friday, he used to have ice cream delivered, and there used to be a queue about 12 o'clock, and it used to go right down to the corner where the bakery shop was, people queuing up to get some ice cream. I can remember that. We didn't have to queue up because he always kept some for us, because he ate with us before he married. He was always had his dinner in our house. Right. Oh yes, and behind the attached to it was the actual sorting office, that was where they all the post people used to do the sorting before they went out. Well, one of the postmen was a Mr. Mitchell, and he ran a children's choir. Well, he lived in a tiny cottage in Malden Road, and how all these children got in his front room with a piano as well, I don't know, but it was lovely, and he was a lovely person. There was also a Miss Dix, was a post lady, and she did her round on a horse, and her dad was the innkeeper at the the Fir Tree pub, which isn't there now, and I still say you turn right where the pub used to be, and you know, we don't know where the pub was. But that was interesting. She actually did market gardening, I think, as well, because her dad used to go to Dunstable in a pony and trap on a Saturday and sell it in the market. But there was, I think there was a Mrs. I can't remember her name. She lived in Station Road. She was a post lady as well.
No couple.
Mrs. Campbell, that's it, thank you. Yeah. And then there was my mother's cafe, where we lived. And her heyday was, and I'm not sure of the year, but main drainage was put into Flitwick. So there were lots and lots of workmen around, and she was very, very busy. So she had a lady who lived next door behind the barber shops, which I will come to. She used to help her. And they all came from, they all were there were huts built in Clapham, and they all lived in these huts, and their families came with them and lived in the hut, a lot of them. And the firm was called Brett's, I can remember that. They've got headquarters in King's Road, and it was, well, it was a playground really when they were, because when they dug the trenches, there were no traffic lights, not like there is now, you know, because there wasn't that much traffic anyway. Then after that, there was a hairdresser's, Hilda Fossey, and her husband had the barber shop next door, Gerald Fossey. I think he'd come out the RAF. Then there was the bank, which wasn't open every day. And the other thing I thought, Ellis can tell you about the gentleman who ran the bank, but before he does that, I'm sure there was a library behind there, but I don't know where I imagined it or whether it's real, but Ellis knows about the gentleman, and some people will remember him because he was actually in the Barclays Bank that's now shut. But it was an interesting what he did to get to the bank. Do you remember you told me? Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell them?
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I've interrupted.
Sorry, Alice.
His name was Wedgwood.
Where was your mother's tea shop? Where was your mother's shop?
Next to the post office.
Next to where the post office was on the corner, which was...
No. Where it was when it shut 6 months ago. Well, I haven't finished anyway, I'm going on.
The bank manager's name was Wedgwood. Flitwick branch was a subsidiary of Amtil branch, and the bank, as we've just been told, was in the high street. And Wedgwood, with his assistant, would cycle from Amtil with a leather bag with the money in it. He'd open the bank, do the business, cycle back to Amtil afterwards. No security, no nothing. That's what times were like then. Eventually, Barclays built the bank where it is on the square now, but it's now closed. So I'll put you back.
Yeah. Then, after the bank, there was the on the corner of where there's a building society now, that was a baker's shop, and the bakery was behind, going down the avenue. And we used to go round and, you know, go into the shop to get stuff for my mum. And there was a lady called Barbara in there, and another lady called Winnie who lived down King's Road. And again, they were always pleased to see us and chat. And Mr. Cousins, he was the actual baker, and his wife used to help. And he took us in one day into the bakery to show us what he did. And now to me, it was a chest of drawers, like you have in your bedroom, but it may not have been. It may have been one that was built especially for it. But when he opened the drawers, they were full of fruit cakes, already made. And then, if anybody said, "Oh, I want a wedding cake," then his wife would ice it and decorate it. But sometimes he said, she can't always do it because sometimes she was took. I don't know if she was took somewhere or it was they told us, you know, she couldn't do it because she'd been took. Then across the avenue, there were two shops there. There was Wynn's, who was televisions and radios, and they were there for some years. Then next to them was Nichols' Grocery. Mr. Nichols and his son Keith ran that. But we never went across there. When we got to the corner of the avenue, that was our territory. Across the road wasn't our territory, and that was it. So that was my childhood memories. There's people here who could probably tell you more and perhaps correct what I've said. But it was a lovely, lovely time. People were so very kind. The lady in Sharp shop, Mrs. Sharp, she used to take us for walks, and she would take us to the cemetery. I think she had got a grave there that she used to look at. And then she'd take us into Temple Field, which is now the heart of the bird estate, and she'd show you where the violets grew in the spring, and things like that she knew, and she would pull something up, and she would say, you can eat those things at the bottom of that. I don't know what they were, but we ate them, and they were nice. And then there was other bits of stuff. She said, if you pick that leaf and squeeze it, it smells like vinegar and tastes like vinegar. And she knew such a lot, and we learnt such a lot from that lady. And, you know, people just generally had got time for children and time. Anyway, that's me finished.
Thank you, Chrissy. I'll carry on. End of 1940s, early 50s. Big changes. We had a company called Edcasters put on running water, and we had either Betts or Bells, and I don't know which one did it, that built all the roads and the prefabs down the avenue. A lot of prefabs and a lot of houses. The other one, either Betts or Bells, put in the sewer works on the main sewer. Their biggest problem was everything west of the railway had to be pumped. We mentioned the running waters earlier. That's where the sewer beds are today, and it's discharged into the running waters down Malden Road. Before we had the main sewer on, we all had a privy up the garden. And up the privy up the garden, you would find, hanging on a piece of string, was a toilet paper. Perhaps you don't remember that. It was a big time, really. All three things seemed to happen late 40s and early 50s. The sewage we were on, the water we were on, and the estate was built. Big times. And I think from now, we'll hand it back to Ian.
Right. Yep, so we're just up to about an hour. I can see people pulling over the teas and coffees. So we're going to take a break there. If we can just put the lights up a bit so that we don't get people stumbling over each other. I would suggest that we don't all try and get tea and coffee at the same time. Just let me get to the front, okay? But there is quite a lot of cake, so I'm hoping that most of you, this is just so far exceeded our expectations instead of people. It's fantastic. But yeah, so if you take it at your leisure and help yourself to tea, coffee, cake, and whatever else is over there. Thank you very much.
I think so,
Oh, we got all right.
Yeah.